of Jessup, Gainsborough and Smythe.
Would this satisfy you?
Mrs. Forsyte took the document from his outstretched hand and proceeded to read every word.
This verifies who you are and confirms what Mr. Jessup told me, she said as she handed the will back to him. But I confess, I'm no less astonished.
She was not the only one. Until a month ago, Jonathan hadn't even known his friend and partner of 7 years had a daughter, much less that the other man's will put him in charge of the child.
No more astonished than I, madam, he said with feeling.
Forgive me for being blunt, but a young, unmarried man in this role seems most unsuitable. And, she added, before he could heartily concur with her opinion, I would not have thought the girl in need of a guardian to take charge of her, not at this point.
Her emphasis on the word indicated that she might fear Billy had thought Forsyte Academy hadn't been taking proper care of his daughter, and that Jonathan was here to remove her. He hastened to reassure the headmistress.
I've no doubt that Mr. McGann had full faith in you and your school, as do I. Indeed,
he said as he refolded the will and returned it to his jacket pocket.
My visit today is little more than a formality.
A formality?
She cut in, her grey eyebrows lifting in surprise.
I'm on my way to London for a brief visit with my sisters, then I'm travelling on to Johannesburg. Mr. McGann had business interests in South Africa that I must see to. I expect to be there for some time.
I see.
She fell silent, considering this information.
You do not intend to take the girl with you, I trust.
He shook his head.
I am a stranger to her. Uprooting her, removing her from the only home she's ever known on the strength of one meeting would be traumatic, even cruel. And what would I do with her? She cannot accompany me to the mining towns of South Africa.
Certainly not, the headmistress agreed, her voice prim.
Therefore, I think it would be best for her to remain here for the time being, if that is acceptable.
The question seemed to amuse Mrs. Forsyte, for her stiff, pursed lips relaxed into a hint of a smile.
I fear it might not be acceptable to Miss McGann. Be that as it may,
she went on before he could point out that her pupil, being a child, didn't have much say in the matter.
Your duty to her is more than a mere formality, Mr. Deverill.
I only meant that my purpose today is to meet her and assure myself that she is settled and happy. For the present, I cannot see that much else is required of me.
No. By the terms of the will, she has inherited a considerable fortune, a fortune you are to oversee.
He could have pointed out that his own monetary worth was equal to that of his late partner, and he had little reason and no desire to embezzle the child's inheritance, but he suspected such assurances wouldn't impress Mrs. Forsyte.
As you have read, he said instead, the money is in trust. No one can touch the capital, not even me. And though I am to manage her investments as I did her father's, there is little I can do without Mr. Jessup's approval, for he is also a trustee. Miss McGann's fortune will continue to be protected.
I wasn't thinking of the money itself, but of its effect upon her.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
Mrs. Forsyte leaned forward, folding her hands atop her desk.
I have been a headmistress for many years, Mr. Deverill. Some of the girls who come here are accustomed to money and what it means because they are raised with it. Others are not so aware. Miss McGann is in the latter category. She is not what I would call naive. Nonetheless, her father wished her shielded as much as possible from the temptations and evils of this world, and I have attempted to accommodate his wishes to the best of my ability. She's known for some time that she is set to be a very rich woman one day, but her life here has not, I fear, prepared her for the reality of being an heiress.
As her guardian, I'm not sure I'm prepared for that reality either, madam, but I shall do my best.
You will have the assistance of your sisters, I presume.
Jonathan didn't see how his sisters came into it at this juncture, nor was he sure how great a role they would eventually play, but he saw no point in saying so.
You know of my sisters?
Mr. Jessup has informed me. Your eldest sister is a duchess, I believe, and your second sister a viscountess.
Yes, and I assure you that I will be discussing the girl's future with both...